morning all, thank you very much for joining us today. We're going to be hosting one of the first live streams of today on admissions. So it's not just myself that's going to be speaking today for the next hour or so. I do have some very lovely colleagues with me today. We've got Gemma and Pepe from the admissions team. So they're our industry experts today. And then we have Dave, who are joining us from the school and colleges team. So I'm just going to introduce everyone first and foremost. So if we go for Tay first, if that's okay.
Hello, good morning, everyone. There's nothing you'd be doing on a Saturday morning. But yes, my name is Tay, and I've recently joined the schools and colleges team as well as the inquiries team. So, if you guys have any questions in regarding to the university process as to how to start your application, doing your research, definitely give us an email in or pop away in the comments section, and then we'll be happy to help you.
Lovely, thank you, Tay. And Dave, if you'd like to go next, please.
My introduction is much the same as Tay's, really, to be honest. So yeah, I'm Dave from Inquiries in Schools and Colleges. Pretty much exactly the same. If you've got any questions at any point, about admissions for Pepe or Gemma or inquiries or schools and colleges, for me and Tay, just pop them in the comments and we'll definitely try and get back to you during the stream.
Lovely, thank you very much. And Gemma, if you'd like to go next for me, please.
Sure, yeah. So morning, everybody. I'm Gemma. I work in the admissions team and I'm here with my colleague Pepe today to help you with all of your queries in relation to the application process and what will happen for you.
Lovely, thank you. And last but by no means least, Pepe.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Yeah, my name is Pepe, working at admissions with Gemma. And we're here to help you with any inquiries you have about any admissions process. Just to remind you, just put your questions on the comments. Any specific program courses, we'll try to answer them, but if not, we'll refer you to the live chat where we have a few admissions colleagues there that will be able to assist you.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much, guys. So I know we've said it before, but one last time, if you pop any comments that you have in the little box there, we'll be able to answer anything that you have. We want this to be as interactive as possible. So anything that you need any help with, please do just let us know. Okay, so I think it's probably best to start off in the very beginning. So if I could ask the lovely Tay to please walk us through how, if someone was interested in studying DMU, how should they conduct their research? How should they start to get a better idea of the course, perhaps? What would be your top tips?
My top tip would be to definitely start ahead and do your research. The UK has so many institutions, over hundreds of institutions where you can choose from with so many courses. So it's definitely to know what course you want to do and what university you want to go to as well. So definitely one way to get yourself started is obviously go onto the university websites and see what kind of offers they are. If it isn't directly through the university website, you can definitely make use of UCAS. I think colleges and schools at the end of the first year, they do start, students to start looking at UCAS and start looking at universities. It's a great website to look at different universities and what courses they have, and it has lots of advanced search options where you can narrow it down as to what courses you want to do and where location-wise as well, where in the UK. So another thing is also open days. So by open days, visiting the universities as well, like ourselves. Currently, we're doing a virtual open day, but in normal times you'd have the open days where you can go in person, see the campus and see the university yourself. You need to figure out where you want to go and what university. You need to see location. Is it far away from home? Is it closer to home? Do you like being away from the family? Is it easy accessible in terms of transport? Also, does it have the relevant course as well? Because lots of, for example, myself, I chose history, but there's so many institutions that, provide history degrees, but some provide ancient history, some provide modern history. So you definitely need to, look deep into the course and see what they have as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Tay. So I think to summarize, essentially, the best thing that you can start to do at this stage in the application cycle is to research and make sure you're making the right choices. Moving on from that, you're probably going to be starting to think about your application, what your application is going to be looking like. So I'm going to hand over to the lovely Gemma, who's going to start to give us a bit of an explanation as to what a student should expect with their applications.
Sure. Okay. So what I would definitely say is that starting your application to university is likely to leave you feeling a mixture of excitement and feeling daunted as well. So once you've researched the course or the courses that you want to apply to, you've got this prospect of getting started on making your application, and you will probably have lots of questions on how to go about it. So first off, that's normal, and we definitely expect you to have lots of questions. The other thing to expect is that you will need to put some work into your application. So just as you have with researching your course choice and your universities, you can almost certainly expect your application to take you some time too. So there'll be periods of wait once you've submitted it, just whilst your application passes between all of the various people that will handle your application. So expect to need to be patient. But by starting early and thinking about the application process now, what you're going to be doing is giving yourself the time for your application to get off to a smooth start, and also to progress in a way that it should feel much less daunting. And then, as well as that, knowing what to expect will mean that you can enjoy this part of your university journey too. So just for the next 5 minutes, I'm just going to give you a quick overview about setting up your application and also the routes to applying. And then my lovely colleague Pepe will tell you a little bit more about what happens to your application once we've received it. So the application process itself can be slightly different depending on the level of study that you're seeking, and whether you are a UK, an EU or an international student. Applications that come from home or EU students, they all come through UCAS. So you make your application online, and it'll cost you £12 for a single choice and £23 if you make between 2 and 5 choices. All of the UK schools and colleges, along with a number of overseas establishments, are registered with UCAS. And what that does is allow UCAS to manage the students' applications. So first off, to apply, you need to get yourself a buzzword from your tutor or your careers advisor, and that will allow you to register. It will also establish the organisation that you're applying from, and then for your referee to attach a reference. Once you've registered, what you then need to do is complete the application. So that will ask you for things like your personal details, academic achievements, and then also for your personal statement. Do expect preparing your application to take you some time, so don't leave it until the last minute. You will need to be really organised, and you'll be expected to collect together all of the information that's needed to complete your application, and that will allow us to assess it, hopefully without any delays. So I'd certainly say that if you're unsure, just ask. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you, because anything that's missing or unclear on your application can hold up the process when your application comes through to us. So we'd definitely rather you ask, as that helps us to help you. Part of the application will ask you to fill out a personal statement. So that's your motivation for wanting to study the course that you're applying for. Your personal statement is your opportunity to really sell your application. Some courses are more competitive for places than others. So do your research, know what the entry requirements are, and think about your motivation for applying. You will need to expect this to take you some time. So you'll need to check through your application, consider what you want to write. There's lots of information on our website on how to write your personal statement, lots of tips. You can also speak to your education provider and find information on UCAS as well. You then need to submit your application to your referee. They'll send that application on your behalf, which goes through to UCAS, and they then forward it on all to the universities that you've selected as your choices. If you're applying through your college in that way, then you will probably have an internal deadline that will be set by your college to submit that personal statement through. That's usually before Christmas, and this is so that the college can write and attach a reference and your predicted grades to the application ahead of the deadline. Do be aware that there are a few courses with an earlier deadline, so it is up to you to establish that and have your application in on time. One thing that I would say to expect is to remember that there will be lots of people dealing with your application, and there'll be lots and lots of applications. It can be passed between a number of people. So in all respects, do try to be on time, expect to be organised by those people, and be patient as it passes between the various hands that it will pass between. If you're not at school or college, then you can apply independently online through UCAS or directly through our DNU online portal. The online portal will allow you to save, revisit and review your application before submitting it at any time of the day. You can be expected to be asked to pay the correct application fee by making your application online using a credit or a debit card. There are various things that you'll need to include with your application. So you'll need a current reference on official headed paper from a professional email address. This can be work or academic, but it must be signed and recently dated. You'll also need to get yourself organised in respect of having copies of your transcripts, degree certificates and a personal statement. It's really important that you send all of this as soon as possible and try to send it all together, because any delays at your end will hold your application up at hours. So yeah, I guess expect to be organised. And then finally, just for international applications, you can go onto our website, download a free application, again, prepare all of the relevant documents that you're asked for, return it through to admissions where we will assess your application. So I do appreciate that's a lot of information. It is all on our website. So if you have a look under the study tab, look under how to apply, you'll find lots of information there on application guidance. And as I said earlier, tips on writing your personal statement. But most importantly, if you are unsure, don't be afraid to get in touch with us. We speak to people like you every day. You can call us, email us, message us on WhatsApp, social media. And yeah, we like to speak to you and we'll help you out. So just be aware that we do get some quite busy periods. There are some times where we take longer to respond, but do be assured we're here to help you on this next step of your journey. And we look forward to speaking to you. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Gemma. That was amazing. A lot of information there for you all to take in. So I hope we were all making some notes. I think what we'll do is quickly jump to some questions that we've had in the stream and answer some of those, if that's okay. So I'm going to start off with the following question here, which is from the lovely Ellen, which says, do you have any advice for what universities are looking for in your personal statement? I think that's a really good question, something that perhaps a lot of you are looking for some answers on. And I'm going to head over to David, who's going to answer this one for us. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, completely right there. That's an excellent question. It's a question that we do get quite a lot as well. So what universities are looking for in your personal statement? The one thing that I like to advise on is, of course, if you've got one course in mind, so say you really want to study pharmacy and you're going to apply to 5 different universities for pharmacy, then of course tailor your personal statement towards that course. But also make sure you're sort of bringing across a bit about you in your personal statement as well. So things about yourself, motivations about why you might want to study that course, why you'd be a good fit for that course. There's all sorts of different things to put in a personal statement, but I definitely say my top 2 things to include would always be things about the course and why you want to study it, and then things about yourself as well. If you've got an interesting fact, put it in the personal statement. It might just be the thing that makes you stand out over another applicant, especially for some more competitive courses as well. But yeah, if you've got any more specific questions about personal statements, you know, maybe you're looking at applying for a certain course, then feel free to pop it in the comments again as well.
Thank you very much, Dave. I hope that answered your question there, Ellen. Lovely. I think we'll head over to one more question, if that's okay. So we've got Frankie's question just here, which is, I've not been sure what course to write about in my application. Some universities don't have the exact course I want, which is forensics, but have it as a topic instead. So do we have any advice on this?
Yeah, definitely. You have to remember, you know, through UCAS, you are applying to 5 different universities for one, usually it's for one same course, right? Sometimes there can be people applying to 2 different courses, like, you know, medical science and biomedical science, something like that. But usually that personal statement, you have to remember it's going to the 5 different universities that you have selected. So it has to match the course that you are applying for. In terms of, they don't have the exact course, which is why we, put stress on having look at modules. For example, I had a query about, if I want to be a forensic pathologist, what course should I do? Should I do biomedical science or should I do forensic science? Now, forensic science, to you, it might seem like, oh, that's a better way to get into forensic pathologist. However, when actually looking at the modules of the course, you see that it's actually biomedical science that's going to help you get into the career that you want. So, biomedical science is more to do with the human biology and people, with the human stuff. That's what if you want to become a pathologist, whereas forensic science would be looking at the crime scene investigation as a whole. So it's definitely best, although it says forensics as a whole, go into the university's website, call them up, speak to them on online chats and ask, what does the course actually entail? Look at their modules, look at what they're going to do, and then decide as to what course you want to do. Even though it says forensics, it might be completely different to what you actually want to do in terms of career.
Perfect. Thank you very much there, Tay. I hope that answered your question there, Frankie. I think next we're probably going to go on to one more question and then we'll jump back onto our main content if that's okay. Okay. Got this next question, which I think might be of interest to everybody, which is from Brandon, and it says, hi all, how would I go about writing a personal statement for a main honours and joint honours in mind? Do we have any tips for Brandon there, guys?
I would say if you're stuck between like a main honours and a joint honours, which is what I was stuck with, definitely write 2 different personal statements. I wrote one for history, one for English. So if you do change your mind at the end, then you can just go with whichever one. But if you're thinking of doing joint honours, definitely, try to review through why you like both the courses, how your experience have, given you the right skills and experience within those 2 joint honours, because you have to remember at the end of your 3rd year, you have to pick one of them. So if you did joint honours in history and English, your dissertation or something has to be more towards one or the other subject. So definitely try to review your experiences and direct it towards how it has helped you and why those 2 courses combined will help you in the future.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Tay. So I think what we'll go for next is we're going to head over to Pepe, who's going to explain how the admissions team shortlist and process the offers that we have coming in.
Okay, thank you, Nikhila. Just before I start, I just wanted to clarify something about the UCAS fees, because there's been an update for this cycle. They are now £20 for one single application and £26 if you want to put more than one. So always check UCAS as there's changes in there every cycle. And sometimes it takes a while for us to keep up with all these changes, especially this year. Okay, so what do we do? Once you've applied, we normally receive the application overnight, and the next day is ready for us to assess. However, as Gemma was saying, you need to be patient with us. I've seen a question on the chat saying that they've applied last month and they still haven't heard. And this is because we are just still working on the admissions for this cycle. And as you may be aware, COVID has complicated things and we had to change the results, etc. So there's a bit of delay. So please, please, please be patient because you will get an answer shortly after you've put the application through. The first thing we do is check your grades, your predicted grades, and see if they match our entry criteria. What we do is just use UCAS points. So we change your grades into UCAS points, and that's how we work out whether you would qualify for that program or not. We also check that you've taken the relevant subjects for a specific program. There's some programs where you can study any A levels that you want and you can go into them, Some have specific subjects. For instance, if you wanted to study pharmacy, you would need to have done chemistry and another science subject. So we always check that what you've done before is what is needed for you to study the program of your choice. Then what we check is your reference, making sure that you know that the person who's giving you the reference is happy for your choices. And also we would read your personal statement. And what we're looking for there is that you're really going to be successful on the program you've chosen. Whenever you start university, it takes, it's a big commitment. It's a lot of money. We want to make sure that you're making the right choice. So that's what we're looking for, that you're passionate about what you're studying, that you're going to put the effort into it, that you've got the knowledge and that you've done that research. So that's the main things that we're looking. Some courses also have interviews, or you have to send us further information, for instance, portfolios. So if that would be the case, we would write to you to tell you how to book an interview or how to send us any additional information that we would need. Again, as Gemma was saying, the sooner you reply, the sooner we'll be able to progress your application. So as I said, we've looked into all these things, and if you meet the requirements, we would be happy to make you an offer. The offer, we tell UCAS at the time that we make the offer, but we will also write you an email. But on UCAS track, you will be able to see the status of that offer. And then you just need to see whether you want to accept it, whether you want to wait for the universities to see if they offer you as well. And you will be able to deal with that through UCAS track. Why an application could be delayed? It could be that we might need to refer to an academic. And that's because your subjects are different to what our published criteria says. Your grades are nearly there, so we could just need to have a chat with an academic. Or also it could be that your qualifications are non-standard, so we might need to refer to them to see whether they can accept you on the course. Once of that, as I said, the offer would be on UCAS, and it's for you to decide whether you want to accept it or not. Okay, back to you, Nikhila.
I think Nikhila's froze.
Yeah, she's very quiet there.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, it looks like Nikhila's froze, so let's just carry on from where we were.
Yeah. Okay, so just going back onto what Pepe was talking about in respect of sometimes your application might be held up if we're pending information. So basically what that means is you might wonder why there's what you might feel is a huge delay to your application. But I think what you need to remember is that your application is going to pass between lots and lots of different hands once it's left you. It's already gone through your college for the reference to be attached. It's come through to us. It will have an initial assessment. And then we might need to do various different things with it. So as Pepe said, it might go on to an academic. It might then go to a head of department. Other people might look at it. We might have to ask you for a portfolio. Or if, for example, if you're doing a course such as nursing or midwifery, your application might be accepted as a conditional acceptance, but then we might be waiting for things for you, such as occupational health clearance or for a DBS. So I think one of the most important things to expect as part of the application process is it isn't speedy. It can take quite some time as it passes between various different hands, us asking you for things, somebody then picking that up, and somebody else checking it all off. So it is quite a long process. So I guess the key thing to remember is be patient. If we ask you for something, please try and send it as quickly as you can. And I guess if you're not sure what you're being asked for, ask us and we can always help you. Sometimes we receive information in which isn't quite what we needed. So just ask us and we're here to help you through the process. And we like nothing more than accepting students and sending off those messages to say that we can accept you. And knowing that we've made you happy, but be patient in the process, I guess.
Thanks very much for that, Gemma. Yeah, no, just to reiterate that point, if there seems to be a delay on your application, if you're a bit concerned about something that seems to be, a bit late, just give us a call or send us an email and we can literally just check it for you very quickly, and then we can tell you exactly what it is admissions require from you. As we said at the beginning, myself and Taya from the inquiries team here, and we take any inbound calls, and it takes us just a few minutes to check with the admissions team what it is we require. And sometimes it can literally just be that an email has been sent to the wrong email address, or an email just hasn't sent through properly. So it's not always something to be worried about too much. I believe now we are actually ready to go over to the Q&A as well. But I also believe we actually do have our esteemed host back, which means that I don't have to talk to you anymore. Which is probably a good thing for everyone.
My Wi-Fi to there and then to completely go. So I'm hotspotting on my phone, so we're going to make this work.
This is the joys of working from home for everyone.
What did I miss? Sorry.
Just everything, It's actually the end of the stream now. No, we're just about to move over into the Q&A. So I'm not sure if we want to take some from YouTube or some of the ones that we had before.
Let's have a look. Okay, we've got the following question from Eva, which says, as I'm wanting to do performing arts, after I send my application through from UCAS, is that when I will get the email about an audition? Do the admissions team have anything to say about this one?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you go, Pepe.
No, it's correct. Yeah, once you put your application through UCAS, then we organize those auditions. But I think this year they might have changed. I think we asked for a recorded audition. So, but yeah, anything would be after you've applied through UCAS when you would receive an email. Also, we'll have the instructions, some tips on how to prepare a good audition, etc. So, but it will be always after the application.
Perfect, thank you. I hope that answered your question there, Eva. We've got another question here from Suhaila, sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, which says, is there any first or second choice for choosing university, or I just apply for 2 universities, like if my first choice be DMU and then another? So I think what she means there is, he or she means there is that how many university choices do you have? So the way that this works is that when you apply for universities, you initially make up to 5 choices. Now, it's entirely up to yourself if you want to use the 5 choices or if you want to apply for fewer universities. What happens is that once you've received decisions from all 5 universities, whether you've been successful or unsuccessful in your applications, you would then make a decision as to which university is going to be your firm and your insurance choice. So what that means is that all going well on results day, whether you're studying BTECs, A-levels, whatever it is, if you meet the criteria for your firm choice, automatically your application lies with them. You've already confirmed them. They will be your primary choice and you'll go to attend university with them. Now, we have an insurance choice on UCAS as well, so that you've got a backup option, so that if everything doesn't go quite to plan on results day or something happens there, then you have an insurance choice that you can then fall to. One top tip that I would recommend, which I think people forget about, is try not to choose a university where your primary and your secondary choice, so your firm and your insurance, have the same entry criteria. It makes no sense to have a primary choice that has AAA entry criteria and the secondary choice has AAA as well, because chances are if you don't meet the criteria for one, you won't be meeting the criteria for the other. So my top tip would be to choose a second choice that has a slightly lower entry criteria than your primary, so that way you're just giving yourself a bit more options. So I hope that answers the question there. Bear with me. Let me see if there's any more. I think we've got another question from Ellen here, which says, with uni, can you do one subject, then later on come back and do another? For me, I'm stuck between drama or marketing, so don't know what to write my personal statement about. I think this can be interpreted a little bit differently. So do you mean whether you go to university and then come back and do another course? Or do you mean, can you change your course at a later date? So we'll answer both of those questions, just because I think that'll be good for everybody to know. So the first one being, can you come back to university at a later date and do another course? Does anyone have any answers for this one?
Yeah, sure. You can definitely come back to university. You can have as many degrees as you want, really. We have lots of people trying to come back to education because they have a change of career plan. So if that's something you want to do, that's definitely. But for you, in your case, these are very two different degrees and with different entry criteria as well. If you're choosing drama will definitely have an audition to it, whereas marketing doesn't really have audition. As long as you meet the entry criteria, you'll be in. Whereas drama has the more, a different process. So if you are going to apply for both of those, I don't think one personal statement would work for either of them. So you need to, like I said before, if you're stuck between these two subjects, what you can do is, write two different personal statements, go through it, because you have enough time. If you start now until January, when the UCAS deadline is, sometimes it'll help you. You might have made a decision by January that, actually, I do want to do drama. Actually, I do want to do marketing. So it's good to make two different personal statements to suit those. Unless, the university, like some universities we said have joint honors, so they might have drama and advertising or drama with something else. So you might want to have a look at what kind of joint honors they have, or even with marketing. So definitely, I wouldn't advise on just because these are very two different subjects. If they were within the same, department, for example, marketing or business or marketing and history or something like that, then, one personal statement, you could try to make it work. But with drama, because it's more about the experience and the creative side that you would need to show, you would definitely need to have different personal statements for them.
Thank you very much. I hope that answers your question there, Ellen. Let's have a look and see if we've got any more questions. Bear with me.
I think in respect of that one as well, I think you'll probably find that when you start to write two separate statements, you'll probably get a feel between them for which one you actually really want to do. So that might help you to make your decision as well.
Definitely. I think that is the case for me. It makes you think, do I actually want to spend 3 years? And also they'll have different things within the course as well. One might have more, courseworks, and one might not have courseworks. One might have more exams. Is that what you want to do? So definitely look into it.
And also consider taking a year out, if that's one thing that I done. I remember it's quite unbelievable on reflection, but my initial UCAS choices were to come to university and study something to do with religious studies purely because I was good at it. It's not something I was particularly interested in, and it started to dawn on me, do I actually want to spend 3 years of my life studying that? No. I took a year out, done some more research, worked for a bit as well, and then thought, you know what, actually I might try this uni thing after all. And I found a course here at DMU that really suited me. I studied arts and festivals management here, and what I'd say is, if you've not got your mind up 100%, and when you're writing this personal statement, if your passion for the subject isn't quite coming across, then maybe just take a step back and think really hard about which course is going to suit you, and don't feel under pressure to go to university straight away. If you want to take a year out, if you want to just take a little bit more time and come through something like clearing later on, then definitely do so, because you've got to make sure it's the right choice for you.
I definitely agree with that more. I think sometimes when you're 18, obviously the most university students are applying at that age, you think, the rest of my friends are going to university, I have to go too. It's not the case at all. There's a lot of students that are mature. There are a lot of students that take a gap year just to make sure that they're completely sure about their applications. And sometimes it can actually be a good thing for you, because you'll have had extra time to think about that course and why it is that you want to go for it. Perhaps have had some work experience that's relevant. So it's always worthwhile making sure that you're 100% sure on the decision that you make, because as much as we say sometimes there's possibilities to switch your coursework to there. It's not always possible, and you just want to make sure that you make the most of this opportunity. It's one of the biggest decisions you're going to be making, so definitely don't feel like you need to rush into one course or another. If you're unsure, if you're on the fence about something, then do take that extra time if you need it. There's no need to rush into this at all.
Yeah.
Getting a bit life advicey here.
Yeah,
Guys,
I was gonna say,
this live stream, we're giving you advice. What would give you now? Okay, so we've got a couple more questions. Yes,
Nicola? Yeah, I was gonna say that if genuinely you are between two different programs and they are that different, you can always send the additional statement to admissions. So you can always, in UCAS you're only allowed one, but please make sure that you send it, because if I'm processing an application for marketing and your statement is about drama, I'm gonna ask a few questions there.
Yeah.
And if your grades are nearly there, I could probably reject that application because it's completely a different field.
Yeah.
But if genuinely you have between two programs, just send the other statement to us so we can consider that.
There we go. Got some inside tips there from the main man himself from admissions. Lovely stuff. Okay, so we've got a couple more questions. So if we go for this one here, which is from Modest, which says, how are the interviews? So first and foremost, not all of our courses have interviews. It will vary from university to university, so do check with the institution that you're looking to apply with. But not all of our courses do have interviews. If they do have interviews, you will know this on the course page. It will say somewhere along the lines of, based on a successful interview or something along the lines, it will let you know that there are interviews. It tends to be that the majority of our interviews are for our health and life sciences courses, so things like nursing, midwifery, paramedicine, those types of courses. Because there's a lot of people interaction there, we just need to make sure that your skills are really there and that you really understand what it is that you've applied for. So those types of courses you will find have interviews. The majority of our courses, I will say, don't have interviews. We rely on your personal statement to understand your intentions for why you're applying and to show that you do actually understand the course itself. So this is why we can't stress enough how important your personal statement is, and why you really should start to plan as soon as possible. It's better to be ahead of the game and start planning now, even if you're not putting pen to paper. Start to think about what it is that you want to speak about, because that might be the only insight we have into you as a person, other than your grades, which realistically every other student who applies is going to have a similar sort of grades. So that is really, really important. So yes, while we do hold interviews, it is majorly for our health and life sciences courses. Does anyone have any tips about interviews and any advice that they want to give about how to have a successful interview?
Gemma, go on.
Me? Yeah. I moved at the wrong time then, didn't I?
Yeah.
I was just going to say this. I think we have information on our website that will give you tips for interviews. But I think, like, for the main part, the same with your personal statement is do your homework ahead. So kind of know what we're looking for, know about your course, about your subject, and just be able to talk about it. I think a large part of it will be is when we read personal statements and when people are interviewed, you can tell if somebody is genuinely interested in the course that they've applied to. It definitely comes across. I think you can tell kind of, I guess it's probably the same with interviews. I've not got much experience of the interview process, but definitely it's probably the same as with personal statements, that you can tell ones that have been rushed, or you can tell the people that have prepared and put the effort in and that know what they're talking about. So I guess top tip for that one is do your homework and know what you're about to speak about. I think Tay may have a better answer than that.
I was going to say, this again goes back to personal statement. This is becoming a personal statement kind of.
I know.
Again, remember the interviews will be aware of your personal statement, so make sure the personal statement is true to yourself. I know, like, it's very tempting to get the thesaurus out and try to use all these big words, but if they are not reflective of yourself, and they'll probably sometimes they can ask you, what does this word mean? And, if you're applying for a medical kind of subject, what does this medical subject term mean? So it's make sure you're using the same language as you would normally, but it needs to be formal. But the interviewers, and be honest. They might ask you, if you've talked about an experience in your personal statement, they can ask you, oh, so how was your work experience here? And so these two are kind of intertwined, because personal statements, interviews, they'll go in hand, and that personal statement will back you up in your interview. So even if you just write one line in your personal statement about a work experience you did over the summer, in the interview you can expand on it and explain it in more detail. So definitely be true to yourself, and keep it formal, and try not to use language that you wouldn't usually use.
Definitely some very good advice there. We're going to move on to another question from Suhaila, which is, what does DMU look for in a personal statement such as nursing?
Okay, shall I answer that?
Yeah, go on, Pepe.
Go ahead.
Well, as following up on the interviews for nursing is a very demanding profession. So once you qualify as a nurse, it's not one of the easiest jobs. So what we want to see is that commitment for the profession, for the job. Because if you don't show that on the statement and on the interview, because on nursing you will have to pass an interview as well, you could potentially be rejected or offer another course. That's what we looked at. You're passionate about nursing, that what the job will what you will have to do as part of the job. You will have to work on sociable hours. You will have to deal with difficult situations. So what we want to see is that you're prepared for all that stuff, because you're going to be studying for a few years, putting lots of time and effort, and we want to make sure that when you finish, you're ready for that profession, and you think, oh, it's not for me, or when you're doing the job or your placements, you think, oh gosh, I hate this, I don't want to be part of this. So that's what we're looking on the personal statement, that it's really your passion to become a nurse.
Thank you very much for that question, Suhaila. We're going to move on to this one here from Navid, which is, hi, as a mature student returning to education, I'm considering an approach of applying for different courses to different unis. Is this something that you'd recommend? And if so, not, then why?
Yeah, you can definitely, we welcome mature students. We have so many students. I have some people, just like, they've retired and now just want to learn something. So definitely mature students are welcomed at the university. The only thing for mature students is that if they have been out of education for a long period of time, let's say 15 years, 30 years, then you probably might be advised to do an access to higher education course. Now that would just help you weave into back into education. And also it would also be the case if you haven't got the relevant A-levels. I mean, the entry criteria will still apply to you. You would still need the A-levels or equivalent O-levels when it was then. You'd also need, but if you do have extensive amount of work experience, for example, you want to go into, you were into arts now and you want to go into business, but you have 10 years worth of experience within a business, or you have a business of your own, you can provide a CV to the admissions team, and we can have a look at your work experience, see if you're suited for the course. So mature students can definitely apply individually to the universities for the different courses, providing that you meet the entry criteria, if not an access course, and then if not as well a CV as well. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I hope that answers the question there. Let me just have a look. Okay, this is a great question actually from Danny, which is, what weighting is placed on each entry requirement, UCAS points, personal statement, interview, etc.? So I think that means what is it the admissions team are looking for in an application? Pepe's nodding his head, so I feel like he's got something to say.
Well, there's no weighting really. It's we assess everything as a package really. There's things, for instance, if you don't pass the interview, then we would offer you another course, or we could potentially reject the application. We don't tend to reject. We just try to find, based on the interview, your statement and entry requirements, we'll try to find another program that we think that we would suit you, and then you can decide whether that's right for you. But yeah, we assess everything as a whole. I would say interview would rule out if you don't pass the interview. for that cycle. But then UCAS points and personal statement go there together. You will see that our published criteria on the website, you might think your grades are not really there, but sometimes we would still make you an offer because on results day, we might still accept you even though you've not met that criteria, depending on the places we've got. So that's the thing. So don't be scared if you think, oh, I'm never going to get those grades. If you're passionate about that course, still apply, make a good personal statement, and who knows, you might get a place and an offer in the end. So yeah, that's what I would say. It's more a package thing. I mean, if you don't have the UCAS points and your personal statement is not that great, a great interview won't secure your place, if that makes sense.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that answer there, and then for the question as well, Danny. It's a very good question. We've got quite a few questions coming in, so I'm just going to have a quick look through and see if there are any. Lovely. Okay, so we've got a good question here from Ellie, which is, I've written the majority of my personal statement, so very organised, Ellie, first and foremost, very well done for being prepared, but I'm struggling with the conclusion. Do we have any tips? I think what I would recommend in terms of a personal statement is when you're starting off, you want to introduce yourself, your experiences, what it is that you're interested in. The vast majority of your personal statement would be how your experiences are relevant for the course. So anything that you've done, work experience, volunteering, perhaps a job that you've had, anything at all that you've done that would make you show that you have a real interest in the course, that you understand the course. What would we recommend as the best way to conclude a personal statement, guys? What would our recommendations be?
I think I would say it's the same as with any writing. So bear in mind that when people are reading your personal statements, they're reading lots and lots of personal statements. And if you want to stand out, I guess the first thing and the last thing that you write are like the main things. So the first thing will be your first impression, and the last thing that you write, the same as when you're writing an essay, is kind of what you leave somebody with. So you need to leave your reader with something that makes you memorable. So I guess like the whole notion that it is your personal statement is just say something personal about why you want to apply. Sum up, this is me. So it's probably quite hard to put into words because it is something about you that we just want to know. Why do you want to study this course? What is it that motivates you? And I guess try not to give a textbook answer. We're looking for you and what you actually want.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Maybe something along the lines of why it is that you want to go for this degree. So is it that, for instance, you're doing a nursing degree because you want to become a nurse, or is it that you want to study marketing because you want to do a certain position in the future? What is it that you think you're going to get out of the degree? That might be something to mention. Pepe, do you have any tips as the admissions?
I would say on the conclusion, just a summary of what you've just written on there, with those main ideas that you want to pass to us. So I would say when we have to read lots of statements, I sometimes just scan a bit of the beginning and go straight at the end. So make sure that the end is powerful. So the ideas that you've developed there, just a quick summary with your stronger points. That would be for me a good way to end it.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We've got another question here from Frankie, which is there a maximum amount of words you're allowed to write for the personal statement? So yes, Frankie, there is. It's 4,000 characters, and I believe that includes spaces as well. So that is normally about a page and a bit of A4. So it sounds like a lot in theory, but when you actually start putting pen to paper and you have to make it concise, it's actually, I'd say probably the trickiest part of a personal statement is to make sure that every single line that you have in there, every sentence is adding value. You shouldn't be using filler sentences. You shouldn't be using just extra waffle around the subject. We do look for concise personal statements. Remember as well that not only is a personal statement reflecting on why you want to do a particular course and why it is that you're interested, it's also a good place to showcase the fact that you are well written and that you are able to use grammar correctly and that you will succeed in some of the skills that are required to be a good academic student. So you are going to be writing essays, you're going to be writing exam answers at the very least in pretty much most of the degrees that you could be doing. So it is really important that the grammar is correct, that everything's concise. So top tip would be to definitely have a look at something along the lines of Grammarly, which I find is a godsend when it comes to writing things. We cannot live without Grammarly. We've got nods from the team, so everybody's using a bit of Grammarly here. So you don't even have to pay for the premium. You can just use the free version of Grammarly. So definitely look at some other tools that you have out there that can help you.
Another tip as well is when you're writing something, read it out loud, because that's how the other person will read it. That's how your reader will read it. So that will help you to work out if you need to add any extra punctuation to make it easy for the person that's reading it to read it. We don't kind of like reading long personal statements that haven't got any commas in or full stops. Make it nice and easy for the person that's reading it. And definitely check your grammar, check your spelling, check everything, because it is something that academics will notice. They're expecting you to come in and perform at degree level. So if you're leaving your application until the last minute and you're writing your personal statement in a rush, we can tell that they're rushed and we can tell that you've not checked them. So this is like your chance to shine and sell yourself. It's just a page, so yeah, check it.
Definitely. And then also do send it on to friends and family members who might be able to help you. If you've got a teacher who might be able to support you in school, make sure you send it off to get it double checked, because I think sometimes when you're working on a personal statement, it can seem like the best thing you've ever written because you've put so much work into it, but sometimes it's difficult to take a step back and realize actually that doesn't make any sense at all because you're reading it how you hear it yourself. So I think sometimes having somebody else to have a look over your personal statement is definitely worthwhile doing. And I'm sure if it's friends, family members, colleagues, whoever it is, I'm sure there'll be somebody that you can go to who'll be able to perhaps offer you some advice. I've got another really good question from Fu Fung, which I think will be worthwhile mentioning, which is, will unis take into consideration that many opportunities such as work experience and volunteering have been cancelled this year? Does anybody have any advice on this?
Yeah, so I actually only know this because on the last open day I was in a stream that was for radiography, and radiography, of course, they tend to look at applications more that do have some form of work experience. I believe it's actually a requirement that you need to have done a certain amount of time in a surgery. I'm not a course expert, so I can't exactly remember what it is. But they did say on that stream that, of course, the academics and the admissions team completely understand that, the whole world has been flipped on its side, so to speak, and particularly things such as work experience and job opportunities are really the first to go, especially with the fact that, it is a pandemic and the hospitals are trying to fight the virus. It's not exactly their first priority, in terms of, if it was a student looking to study radiography, it's not their first priority to have people come in for work experience. The one thing that the academic did tip for anybody who is, sort of looking to fill that gap is actually to just put in your personal statement what your ideal work experience would have been. So you could literally say, I know that it's a requirement of the course, but obviously with the COVID-19 pandemic, I've not been able to do this work experience. But in a dream scenario, I would have gone to this hospital and done X amount of hours to help out. And it can be the same for any course. Say you're even applying for something completely opposite that doesn't normally need work experience, such as business and management. You can put in your personal statement that if I did have the opportunity to, I would have gone and helped out, at my uncle's business or my best friend's dad's business over the summer before applying. We're obviously completely understand that it's not easy at the moment, that you can't go out and volunteer and get work experience. But yeah, the team will be sympathetic towards that. So try not to worry if you've not been able to get any extra experience before applying for any courses.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I hope that answered your question there. We've only got a couple more minutes left, so I'll probably do perhaps one more question and then we might have to start wrapping things up if that's okay. So we've got this question here, which is quite an interesting one from me. Is it true that universities are not allowed to offer unconditional offers anymore? What do you have to say about this one, guys?
That is correct. Yeah.
To sum it up?
No other way to say it.
It is, yeah. It will come from the office students, and I think personally, I think it's a good thing.
Me too.
I've made unconditional offers to people, and they've not even taken the exams, the A levels. They didn't bother, or they didn't study, and you will, people doing that will regret it in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
one thing you need to be aware of as well is that you do have to show your A-level grades in the future when you're applying for future jobs or graduate schemes, etc. Some graduate schemes even have a minimum entry criteria in terms of UCAS points. So by getting complacent and thinking, okay, I've got a place guaranteed, you're dropping the ball there massively, and you've worked so hard for 2 years, so just not go ahead and sit that final hurdle, because potentially you don't find out until the very last minute you've got an unconditional offer. You've put in 2 years of hard work, prepped for it for so long, and then to just drop the ball, it's just such a shame, and it's not a reflection on you, and these grades will be around. So I actually think I agree with Pepe in that regard, in that perhaps it's not such a bad thing that unconditional offers aren't a thing anymore. So yeah, it'll hopefully benefit you all in the long term. I think that's all we've got time for now, guys. It's 10:25, so we don't want to overlap with any other schedules that you might have in place. But just so you are aware, if there were any questions that we haven't been able to answer in this time, I'm really sorry. We do have, I know we've said it before, but we'll plug it one last time. We've got the admissions live chat going on. So if you do have any questions that are subject specific, anything about entry criteria, or any questions that we failed to answer so far, please do head over there and let the guys know, and they'll be more than happy to help. I believe Pepe and Jem are probably going to be heading over to there at some point today. So the lovely guys are going to be there to support you as well. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've really enjoyed it, and I've been really glad to see that there's been so much interaction and so many questions coming in. And thank you to the wonderful team who have been here to help us. Sorry about the technical issues. Fingers crossed we're going to get that sorted out soon. So thank you very much, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.